Yeah, I can tell I haven't recorded a video in a couple of weeks. I've had to restart this one about 3 times. Well, I did a video last week, but currently in the process of, well, firstly, waiting for something to happen. And secondly, got my new PC ready and just downloading everything. I only got it ready yesterday, and it's just a case of sorting that out. It's a bit of a beast, so I want to get that one sorted so I can start streaming and start recording on there. And the quality of the videos, etc., will be better. The content, probably not, but realistically, you know, you're here for the production value. I don't know, but I've got thumbnails now. I do have thumbnails now, but irrelevant of that. I said we've been sort of waiting on things happening here, and it hasn't really. I mean, for all the fact that it's Rostermania and there's all these rumors, there's not really been anything necessarily confirmed, if you like. I think obviously the whole phase roster. We know Scraps and Zero are going there, but we obviously don't know who the fifth is. And basically, I think it's mostly been coming from the burner, hasn't it? Like, that's where the source of information has been come from. It's where I'm getting my information from for the most part, but I'm going to go through what the burner's been saying and sort of either back up what he's saying or sort of put a negative slide on it and say, I don't think this is correct. I don't think this is right. As far as the burner is concerned, I've got an idea of who it is. I've got an idea of who the higher-ups think it is as well. And I mean, I'd like to think I'd go along with what they say. But irrelevant of that, I don't think he necessarily has bad intentions, etc. And I think anything that he says, he believes. And that's yeah. I think, to be honest, I quite enjoy the whole hilarity of it, all the drama of who is the CoD Burner. Absolutely love it. I would love to, if the CoD Burner watches this, I'd love to get you on Spitfire. We'll get a voice change around and we'll black out your face or something like that. We'll try not to figure out who you are, but I would love to actually speak to him and see as to why he does this. But anyway, let's go through this. So 2 days ago, he posted behind the scenes on Envy. I'll link these posts below. Probably. I mean, you've all probably seen these by now. Anyway, he says, I heard this directly from more than 10 players and a few high-ups and orgs that Aches, App, Assault, and Silly have zero say over the team now, and it's all on Hook in Envy. Apparently, they're all upset. Team chemistry is out the window, etc., etc., etc. So basically, it was a case of he was saying that Hook is looking for 4 players. The team's chemistry seems to be in the bin now, which wouldn't surprise me if this is the case. Assault apparently backed this one up in a later post by the burner, but again, I think that it seems as if big changes are coming to Envy, and I have heard that as well. And where it actually ends up, I'm not 100% sure. That there's going to be so many free agents on the roster, on the scene, if you like, that if you look at what's going on with Red, that's what's going to free everything up. RFA is going to buy the spot, and if they do, that's when we start to see movement. Do we see Attach move from EG? Do we see somebody else go in there? Do we see other free spots come up? That's what it's really relying on. Based on what he says here, though, this would not surprise me. I haven't heard anything specifically from the Envy camp, but obviously we know that changes were inevitably going to be coming. You know, if somebody had said to me on the Friday of Fort Worth that this was happening, I'd probably be like, well, no, you seem a bit crazy, but Envy just seemed to drop off the face of a cliff pretty fast, and Hook's a talent, we all know that. And if they are giving the reins to him, it makes sense. They want to make him their scump, so to speak, as the burner said in a later post. So for me, I think this seems relatively true. It really wouldn't surprise me. Whereas what the Envy roster is going to end up looking like really depends on so many different things happening. Obviously, we know that Scraps and Zero are wanted by Hook. And, I mean, Scraps and Hook on the same team, just, wow. I mean, that could be a solid roster. We'll talk more about Envy in a second. But anyway, that's behind the scenes at Envy post. We've just quickly gone through that one. And here we go. This was the 4th and 9th post, Denial and Red. Now, remember in my previous video, I said that I heard that organizations were apparently dropping full teams. There was a couple of teams like that. Denial was one of them. I had heard that, you know, they were potentially looking for a new team completely. And the more that the week went on, it seems harsh on the French boys, and I absolutely feel for them if it does happen. I really do feel for them because, you know, they were doing decent, but it's a real shame, but it's cutthroat, you know. It's a tough business to be in esports, wherever you are. But what I would say is I sort of heard that this one happening, and it is again all based on, you know, Red selling their spot. If Red sell their spot to FaZe and FaZe want to bring in a completely new roster, then Denial are going to have their choice of like 3 solid European players who could drop in, and then there's plenty of other guys that want to team with them. So, I mean, some of the players on Denials were told to find a different team. I also heard Denial bought rated Joe and bans from Red and expected an announcement. He said tonight, but that hasn't happened. I expect all of the current Denial players to be dropped and one moved to a sub due to language issues. I heard that rumor of Brack going to Denial too, but he'd rather be on Envy because of better league record and Hook. Now, basically from what we've seen on Twitter, etc., it seems as if Brack and Rated are having a bit of a love-in right now, and I heard this one like last week, that Brack was coming in. I knew Rated really wanted him, and he rates him very highly. So, the one of him going to Denial with Rated Joe and Bance makes sense. Red still hasn't sold the spot to FaZe and won't sell to them because they have 2 to 3 meetings this week. I expect them to eventually do it though. Scraps and Zero are still under contract with Red as of today. Red has to sell the spot before next Wednesday or lose it to Zero and Scraps, who will become free agents. So Zero and Scraps will keep the roster if they don't sell it. Attacher's stuck on EG, and I heard again this time from someone in management. He will end up going whoever Envy he will end up getting whoever Envy drops. Not too sure what he means, but I think he means something to do with Red. Now, I heard Desi's back to Envy, but Hook doesn't know if he will drop App or Assault if he doesn't get Scraps and Zero because he needs to make space. FaZe holds Selly no matter what, even if they don't get the spot. Also, Assault replied to my post about Envy and said it's true, so get off me. So he said that seems to be a little bit true, Assault, whether or not that was tongue-in-cheek or not. But as I said, the Red roster for me sounds about right. So Rated Joe and Bance with Brack, and it sounds like Alex is the one that's going to come in there, and it looks like they're going to go over to Denial. And again, if that does happen, I'll make a separate video about that to talk about. You know, I feel really bad for the French boys because they've progressively got better. Realistically, is this new team better than that? Yes, absolutely. But you know, you still do feel bad for the boys. But either way, moving on to the rest of the stuff. So Scraps and Zero are still under contract. Yeah. So that's what I heard about Red Reserve, that the contract seemed to like just end come a certain date. I think it's in like a few days time. So that's why Red are trying to get Red now before their contracts end, so that they've actually got something to sell them for. Desi back to Envy. Yeah, I mean, this one does make sense. We know that Envy are going to have to make some changes based on presuming that the previous post was correct. So Decimate over to Envy does make sense to me. It sounds like App might be getting dropped, and that is potentially someone that could be going over maybe towards EG, etc. Let's move into the next post because that does give it a bit of an update. This was 19 hours ago from now. So he's here and it's all agreed now. It might not be done in contracts, but I'm confident on all the things he said. Remember, I don't want to say something that was a done deal if it was not. FaZe and Red have an agreement for the spot, most likely the announcement on Friday. So that's going to be Zuma, Scraps, Zero, and Selly +1. Now, it sounds like Attach can't get out of EG, so it looks like he'll be staying over there. Whoever gets dropped from Envy, I'd imagine will go over towards on EG. Probably App, if I'm honest with you. So that does make sense. Brack and Alex added to Denial unless Envy or EG come back with bigger offers for Brack at the last minute. I don't think Brack's going to go over to Envy. I think that one might be signed and sealed for him going over to now Denial, previously Red. I heard Apathy is a potential fifth for the FaZe lineup, but only heard it from one person. It might be Fugazi. Sorry to say, but I think it's interesting enough to let you guys know because who I heard it from. So App to FaZe as a fifth makes sense. I'm trying to think of others who they could pick up. You know, there's been a lot of talk about Phantoms recently. You've got people like GodRx who seems to have offers as well. That fifth for FaZe is really up in the air right now, but there's a lot on the line. If Red and FaZe don't agree a spot, then Red are gonna, well, the Red spot is probably still gonna, I mean, I don't know what goes on with that. That really impacts what happens with everybody else. So it really is lying on whether FaZe and Red have come to an agreement. If they have, the cogs will start turning. That's where we start to see everything. I said to everybody, you're gonna have to strap in for this one because it is gonna be, as the first domino falls, that's when it all starts happening. So then we will see a string of announcements within a few hours of each other, I feel. Apathy potential fifth for FaZe lineup. App in with, I don't know. I just think App hasn't been solid this year, but could you see him in a team like that potentially? Zero running AR with, yeah, okay. You could maybe look. App has that caliber that if he gets dropped, we know that he has it up in himself to be a very good player. So it could be a very interesting pickup, and they'll do it for the obviously potential of what we know that App can do. As said, other fifths, people like GodRx, Decimate potentially going over there as well, but that FaZe team seems pretty locked in. That +1 is up in the air, as I said. There's so many different moving parts still. I hope this maybe give a bit more clarity on the situation of what's going on. Maybe it's confused you more. Maybe I've confused myself more. But as said, thank you guys for watching. We're going to have another thumbnail on this one. Thankfully, I'm going to go through and sort that one out soon. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think of these new rosters that are potentially forming? Do you think there's a curveball in there where something's going to potentially change? I mean, there's so many different things that could still happen. There's plenty of time left to go before London, but it's going to make it a spicy one, guys. But we'll see you for the next video.